Without objection, it is passed.
Los Angeles unanimously passed a sanctuary city ordinance on Tuesday, which would protect immigrants living there.
We know that women should be able to report domestic violence and seek justice. Kids should be able to go to school, and families should be able to go to public libraries without the fear that doing so would tear their families apart.
Well, that was Los Angeles city leaders talking about the city ordinance to stop Trump's plan for mass deportation. What do you say to these city leaders that say, A, they won't help, B, they will resist your efforts?
Well, first of all, I find it amazing that any elected mayor or governor will push back. The president's been very clear. We're going to concentrate out of the gate on public safety threats. What mayor or governor does not want public safety threats taken out of their communities? So again, help us or get out of the way. And I've been clear. These politicians need to read Title 8, United States Code 1324, Section 3. It says, if you knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien from an ICE officer, it is a felony. To impede a federal law enforcement officer is a felony. So don't cross that line. We got a strong AG coming in, Pam Bondi, and we will present these prosecutions. So, don't test us. If you don't want to help, stay out of the way. But I would think we'd all be on the same page. Let me tell you something about sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals only. You just saw a tape of the guy said, we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel comfortable coming to the police. And so we don't want to send a message, we're working with ICE. That is crap. Victims and witnesses of a crime don't want the bad guy released back in the community. That's just common sense. It puts the community at risk. And like I said before, if you force us into the community, we're going to find the bad guy. There's probably others we're going to find, which means they're going to be arrested too. So by them putting up roadblocks and being a sanctuary city, they're going to get the exact result that they don't want: more ICE officers in their neighborhoods.
It just seems crazy to me that if there's a suspect and they're in their jail, that they would open that jail and say, here you go, do what you're going to do.
It is much safer, and why won't you give us access to somebody you locked in a jail cell? Because obviously he's a public safety threat, and when you're done with them, let us have him. Because then we were not only removing from the community, we're removing from the country so he can't reoffend. Look at recidivism rates, for God's sakes. They're going to release him back in the immigrant community. He's likely to reoffend in the immigrant community. How is that protecting the immigrant community? MS-13 thrives on citizens from El Salvador. Let us protect American citizens. Let us protect the immigrant community. Give us the bad guy.
I need to ask you about the Chinese immigrants that have crossed the border, because that number has gone way up. And I've talked to people that are concerned that we have vulnerability to our energy grid in the United States. This is a map showing where Chinese have purchased farmland in the United States in pretty massive quantities. Those purchases are strategically around military bases. And so we've got, in 23, I think, 30,000 Chinese immigrants across the border. How do we protect against them organizing in some way and taking down the energy grid in this country in a coordinated fashion?
You put a strong president in the Oval Office. That'll happen January 20th. This administration won't do it. And look, this is a huge national security threat to us. And it's closer to 60,000 Chinese under the Biden administration. 60,000 Chinese males, mostly military age, do not leave China without the coordination and approval of the Chinese government. That just don't happen. So this is a coordinated national security vulnerability that the Chinese government is involved in. That's my true belief. And it's a huge national security vulnerability. This administration did nothing to China about creating the precursors that make the fentanyl to sell the cartels. Nothing. They've done nothing about the Mexican cartels. President Trump is committed to take on the Mexican cartels because they've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in this world combined.
Texas Land Commissioner Dr. Don Buckingham has offered over 1,400 acres of state land in Starr County, Texas, for building deportation facilities, and says more land is on the way. Now, the state has already started building a border wall on some of the land, aiming to finish a mile within a week. Don, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So 1,400 acres, what's the plan for using this?
We just want to be good partners. Texas has been standing in the gap while the Biden administration has abdicated its duty to protect our border. And so our offer was simply this. If we have something that's of use to you, if there's a way to help get these violent criminals off of our soil who are raping and murdering our sons and daughters, we want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Is there a plan to utilize that?
I'm writing the plan as we speak. I was working on it last night, matter of fact. Look, Governor Abbott has done more to secure this border than anybody in this administration. Every ounce of fentanyl his trooper sees is less overdose deaths across the nation. Yeah. Every person they arrest for trespass, at least they vet them, they fingerprint them, make sure they're not releasing a known terrorist. So Governor Abbott, God bless him, he's done more than anybody in the Biden administration to secure the border and protect America.
Yeah. And if this is used to build a place to house these people temporarily for deportation, how long are they likely to stay in this?
They'll be moving in and out. One day we have a flight to the El Salvadoran nations. The next day we have a flight to Asia. So we've been moving through, but I think there's 1,400 acres of land. That saves us from acquiring that land. And the government never buys things real fast, and we do, we overpay for it. So having this from the state of Texas is great.
When we talk about this, we talk about numbers, and numbers can take the humanity out of it because you're talking about saving lives. It's important to realize they're being victimized in getting here. They're being victimized by these cartels. Let's take a look at some video of a 2-year-old migrant girl recently found alone at the Texas border. Now, the girl, the Salvadorian, was among 200 migrants with 60 unaccompanied minors.
Venezuela, mamá. Venezuela. ¿Sí? ¿Qué tantos años tienes? ¿Dos años? ¿No vienes con tu mamá y tu papá? ¿No? ¿Venezuela? ¿Para dónde vas, mamá? ¿Dónde están? ¿Estados Unidos? Okay.
This is a 2-year-old child that shows up with a Post-it note. How did she get there?
Obviously, her parents played the criminal cartel, have her smuggled in. Thank God she's alive, because too many of these young people perish. Hopefully she wasn't sexually assaulted by some animal in the cartel, because that happens all the time. But you know, she'll eventually be released. They'll find her parents and delivered to the parents. What I want to happen, when the parents come forward, we'll process them too. And when that little girl goes to immigration court, the parents can be standing shoulder to shoulder with her, because that's parenting 101, in my opinion, and we'll deport them all together as family. This should not happen. We got to put a stop to this. It's just madness. I don't know who put a 2-year-old in the hands of a criminal cartel to be smuggled across the border. It's so dangerous. The river alone, the river's taken thousands of lives. The desert, thousands of lives. I don't understand it, but we're going to put an end to it.
You and I are going to be meeting with the sheriffs in Arizona, and when they go into the desert to intercept some of these illegal immigrants, they go in with supplies that are life-saving. They go in with water and food and clothing and medicine, because if somebody gets left behind, they just die in the desert. Sometimes they think these border guards are kind of jack-booted thugs. They're actually going out there to save lives, because these people are going through 50, 60 miles of really rugged terrain, often carrying homemade backpacks full of drugs, and it's tough. It's rugged out there. This is not an easy thing.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's not talked about enough. Look, when I was a Border Patrol agent, most of the times I didn't eat my lunch. I gave it to an alien I arrested who hasn't eaten in days, because I can eat later that day and he hasn't eaten. Men and women in Border Patrol, they're the only humane thing on that border. The men and women wearing green, they're patriots. They're the finest 1% this country has. And they bring toys from their own children to some of these camps so these children have something to play with. They take sicknesses home to their families, whether it's measles, chickenpox, TB. I mean, they deal with this every day. But the most important thing I want everybody to understand, they're the only humane thing on this border. They're moms and dads too. Their sons and daughters too. They don't hang their heart on the wall when they wear that uniform. A lot of left will likes to push that message. They're racist and they're a bunch of stormtroopers. It's just ridiculous. The men and women at Border Patrol, God bless them, I wore that uniform. They save thousands of lives every year for exactly what you said. The men and women of Border Patrol are great patriots. And I want to remind people, I think on the last count under this administration, I think they got close to 40 suicides. The highest level of suicides in any law enforcement agency, federal, state, and local. Why is that? Talking to little girls that were raped multiple times, seeing the devastation on the border certainly had a weigh on them. So these men and women have taken a toll the last 4 years. I was down there last week. Their spirits are picking up because they know the rescue's coming and they're going to get to do the job again.
Yes, they know that.
So if you see a Border Patrol agent, just thank them because they haven't got thanked in 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.